Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change can sometimes transform into treasures worth unimaginable fortunes. And in this episode we are diving deep into one of the most talked about and astonishing finds in numismatic history, the incredible 1995p quarter-dollar coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike by fetching an astounding $110 million, a number that seems unbelievable when you first hear it. Yet once you start to understand the extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, and peculiarities that exist on this particular coin, you begin to see how such staggering value could be possible. So get ready to be amazed as we explore every detail of this story, because it is not just about a coin. It is about history, rarity, mystery, and the excitement that comes with knowing something so small could be worth more than the most luxurious mansion or the most expensive sports car. And as we begin, let's first remind ourselves that the 1995p quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when minting technology was already quite advanced, which is why the appearance of serious minting errors on such coins is even more spectacular. Because the higher the level of quality control, the rarer it is to see something go drastically wrong. And rarity is the single most important factor in driving coin values into the millions. Now the coin in question exhibits a bewildering number of unusual features that make it one of the rarest quarters ever known. Starting with an incredible double die obverse that is so extreme that the word Liberty appears shadowed with a second bold set of letters slightly overlapping the first, making the coin instantly recognizable under magnification. And the phrase "I in God we trust" looks like it is floating, with doubled and tripled impressions that create a ghost-like appearance, something highly coveted among collectors, because strong doubling in the 1990s issues of US coinage is rare enough, but a dramatic doubled die on a quarter of this magnitude is almost unheard of. And what makes this even more fascinating is that the reverse side of the coin also displays serious doubling, with the words United States of America and quarter dollar stretched and distorted as though the die struck the planchette in a misaligned fashion multiple times, giving the coin a look that feels almost surreal. And yet the most jaw-dropping element is that this coin appears to have been struck on the wrong planchette entirely, with metallurgical tests showing that it was not the standard copper nickel-clad composition of a regular quarter, but instead a 90% silver planchette that had somehow been fed into the presses decades after silver coinage was phased out, creating a hybrid that should never exist. And experts speculate that perhaps an old blank from earlier decades was mistakenly left in the mint storage and found its way into the presses in 1995. Or possibly that a test striking was performed on a silver blank and somehow escaped quality control. But either way, this anomaly instantly elevates the coin into legendary status, because wrong planchette errors are already rare, but wrong planchette combined with doubled dies on both obverse and reverse is almost statistically impossible. And then there are the smaller yet equally fascinating quirks that add to its mystique, such as an off center strike that leaves part of Washington's portrait cut off near the rim, with a crescent-shaped blank space where the metal was not properly struck, something that collectors adore because it shows the physical mishap that occurred during minting. And around the rim you can see areas of broad strike where the collar failed to properly contain the metal, causing it to spread wider than normal, giving the coin a warped and uneven rim that further sets it apart from the countless billions of perfect quarters produced that year. And under close examination there are visible die cracks spreading across Washington's hairline and into the field, like veins running across the surface, which are evidence of overused and damaged dies. And each of these cracks creates additional uniqueness, because no two cracked dies ever produce the exact same markings, making every coin struck in that condition a one-of-a-kind artifact. But here we are not talking about just one error, we are talking about a cascade of multiple major errors happening simultaneously on a single coin, something so rare that many experts compare it to winning the lottery several times in a row. And when such a combination occurs, it transcends ordinary numismatics and becomes a cultural and historical marvel. And this is why wealthy collectors were willing to bid the price astronomically higher, because they realized that this 1995p quarter is not just an error coin, it is a once-in-human-history mistake that defies probability. Now when we think about how a coin like this could reach a valuation of $110 million, it helps to consider the psychology of rarity and value. For example, when something is unique, when it exists as the only one of its kind, it becomes priceless to those who desire it. And in the world of ultra-wealthy collectors who already own paintings, rare cars, diamonds, and luxury items, the chase for the ultimate rarity in coins becomes an obsession, and this particular coin represents the peak of that chase, because no other known coin combines silver planchet, double dies on both sides, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, and misaligned collars all together in one piece. And when collectors battled for ownership at auction, the price skyrocketed to levels never before seen for a quarter. And beyond the auction halls, the story of this coin has inspired treasure hunters everywhere to dig into their change jars and examine their quarters more carefully. Because who knows what might be hiding in plain sight? And while this exact coin is one of a kind, other 1995p quarters with lesser errors are also fetching thousands of dollars on the open market, showing that even small mistakes can transform ordinary coins into valuable finds. And this has led to an explosion of interest in modern era coins, with people now learning about doubled dies, die clashes, broad strikes, off-center strikes, planchet errors, and many other categories of mistakes that make coins exciting and profitable. And as we think about the journey of this $110 million coin, it reminds us of the fragility and unpredictability of the minting process. Because even in a high-tech environment with strict quality control, human oversight and mechanical failure can still allow such anomalies to slip through. And that is what makes collecting so thrilling. The idea that perfection is the norm but imperfection is priceless, and the imperfections of this coin are so dramatic that it has been called the Mona Lisa of modern quarters by some collectors, a comparison that makes sense because like a masterpiece of art, this coin is singular, irreplaceable, and the product of a moment in time that can never be recreated. And the allure of such a coin is not only in its errors but in its story, the mystery of how it came to be, the drama of its discovery, the frenzy of its auction, and the prestige of its ownership, all of which add layers of intangible value that go beyond the metal itself. And as we continue this discussion, let us imagine the possibilities that surround other coins from the 1990s. Could there be another hidden treasure waiting in circulation? Could another 1995p quarter exist with even a fraction of these errors? And if so, what would it be worth? These questions drive the passion of collectors everywhere and ensure that the hunt continues. Because numismatics is not just about old coins, it is about discovery, about finding value where others see none, and about connecting with history through the smallest artifacts of our daily lives. And so the story of the 1995p quarter worth $110 million is more than just a headline. It is a symbol of what makes collecting so addictive: the thrill of possibility, the joy of rarity, and the wonder of knowing that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. And as long as coins continue to be minted, errors will continue to occur, and somewhere out there someone may be holding the next great numismatic legend in their hand without even realizing it. Which is why the world of coin collecting will always remain exciting, unpredictable, and filled with potential discoveries that could change lives overnight. So as you check your own change jars, wallets, or inherited collections, remember the story of this incredible 1995p quarter, because it proves that no coin is too small to be worth examining. And with knowledge, patience, and a little luck, you too might uncover a hidden treasure that makes headlines and captures imaginations. And that is the beauty of this hobby. Next, 1997p quarter dollar. Today on this exciting adventure into the fascinating world of rare coins, where small overlooked pieces of change can sometimes hold values that rival the most expensive luxury items on earth. And in this episode we are diving into the astonishing story of the 1997 $250 coin that has taken the numismatic world by storm by being valued at an unbelievable $75 million, a price so massive that most people can hardly believe a 25-cent piece could ever be worth so much. But as we explore the details of its errors, mistakes, and mysteries, you will see exactly why this one coin has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters around the world. And to begin, let's first set the stage by remembering that the 1997 $250 was minted at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when billions of coins were being struck with modern equipment and strict quality controls, meaning that errors were supposed to be nearly impossible, which makes the existence of this coin with its extraordinary combination of mistakes even more incredible, because the rarer an error is in modern times, the more collectors fight for ownership. And this particular coin is not just an error. It is a collection of errors rolled into one unbelievable specimen, starting with a dramatic double-die obverse that makes the word liberty appear shadowed and thick with overlapping impressions, while the phrase "I and God we trust" looks almost like a three-dimensional hologram due to multiple impressions from the misaligned die, creating a strong doubling effect that leaps out under magnification. And when you turn the coin over to examine the reverse side, the doubling continues with the words United States of America and $250 stretched and doubled to such a degree that they look blurry and distorted, making it an unmistakable error even to the naked eye. And already these features would make any coin highly collectible, but this particular 1997 $250 takes things much further, because metallurgical analysis has shown that the coin was not struck on the standard copper-nickel clad planchet of a regular quarter, but instead on a foreign planchet that was somehow fed into the minting presses, with experts debating whether it is a leftover silver planchet or an experimental alloy used for test strikes. But either way, it is an anomaly that should never exist, and wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in the coin world, especially when combined with doubled dies. And as if that was not enough, this coin also displays an off-center strike that leaves Washington's portrait pushed dramatically to one side, with part of his face nearly touching the rim while a blank crescent of metal remains untouched on the opposite edge, a feature that collectors adore because it vividly shows the physical mishap of the striking process. And in addition, the rim of the coin shows evidence of a broad strike error where the collar that normally contains the metal failed to do its job, causing the coin to expand slightly wider and thinner than normal, giving it a warped and irregular outline that instantly catches the eye. And adding yet another layer of rarity are the visible die cracks that run like lightning bolts across Washington's hair and into the surrounding field, evidence that the die used to strike this coin was breaking down at the time. And since no two die cracks are identical, this means that the exact pattern on this coin is completely unique, making it a one-of-a-kind artifact. And when you add up all these errors together, double die obverse, double die reverse, wrong planchet, off-center strike, broad strike, and die cracks, you have a statistical impossibility, a convergence of mistakes so rare that experts say the odds of all these errors appearing on a single coin are lower than being struck by lightning multiple times in your life. And that is why this coin has been described as a once-in-history piece, and why collectors were willing to drive the price up to $75 million in a bidding war that stunned the numismatic community. And beyond the technical errors, what makes this coin even more fascinating is the mystery of how it escaped the mint in the first place, because with such glaring errors one would assume quality control would have caught it, yet somehow it made its way into circulation or into private hands. And that escape story adds an aura of intrigue that makes it even more desirable, because collectors love not only the physical rarity but also the stories behind coins, the legends of how mistakes happen and how they slip through unnoticed. And the discovery of this coin ignited a frenzy among collectors who began searching their 1997 $250 in hopes of finding other unusual examples, and indeed some lesser errors have been found, including minor doubled dies and off-center strikes, but nothing even remotely close to the magnitude of this particular coin, which remains unique, and that uniqueness is what fuels its astronomical value. because in the world of collectibles it is always rarity that drives price, and when something is the only one of its kind it effectively becomes priceless, limited only by how much someone is willing to pay, and in this case the ultra-wealthy bidders who battled for it saw it as the ultimate trophy, something no one else on earth could own. And when you consider that billionaires compete for luxury yachts, rare cars, and fine art, it is easy to understand how a one-of-a-kind coin that represents an impossible accident of history could climb into the tens of millions, and the psychological value of owning something no one else can ever possess is what pushes prices to such extreme levels, and this coin is the perfect example. And as we imagine the journey of this coin from the mint presses to the hands of collectors, it makes us think about the countless other coins that might be hiding in circulation, with rare mistakes that have yet to be discovered. And that possibility is what excites treasure hunters everywhere, because the idea that you could find a coin in your pocket worth millions is thrilling and keeps people searching through change jars, coin rolls, and inherited collections. And while the chances of finding another $75 million quarter are virtually zero, the chances of finding smaller errors worth hundreds or thousands are very real. And that is why stories like this inspire so many people to join the hobby of coin collecting, because it shows that mistakes are not just flaws but treasures, and the beauty of coin collecting is that every coin tells a story, and in this case the 1997p quarter tells a story of improbable errors, of rarity beyond comprehension, of mystery, of discovery, of auction drama, and of astronomical value, making it a true legend in numismatics. And as we think about the future, we realize that modern coins will continue to be struck in the billions, and mistakes, though rare, will always slip through, and perhaps one day another coin will surface with a combination of errors so dramatic that it challenges even this $75 million record. But for now the 1997p quarter remains at the top, a shining example of how the tiniest object can hold the biggest value, and a reminder to all of us to look closely at the small details in life, because sometimes those details hold unimaginable rewards, and that is the magic of this story, a story that shows us that imperfection can be perfection in the eyes of collectors, and that what most people would overlook as an ordinary coin can, under the right circumstances, become one of the most valuable treasures in the world. And so as you check your own quarters and examine the coins that pass through your hands, remember the tale of this incredible 1997p quarter, because it proves beyond doubt that history, rarity, and mistakes can come together to create something truly priceless, and that is why the excitement of coin collecting will never fade, because somewhere out there in the vast sea of ordinary coins might be hiding the next great discovery, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a curious mind to uncover it. Just like this $75 million masterpiece that turned an ordinary quarter into an icon of numismatic history and a legend that will continue to inspire collectors for generations to come. Last 1998p quarter dollar. Today, as we step into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare and valuable coins, where what might appear to be an ordinary piece of pocket change can actually be worth life-changing money. And in this video we are going to uncover the mind-blowing story of the 1998p quarter dollar coin that has stunned collectors and investors around the world by being valued at an astonishing $65 million, a number so high that it makes most people stop in disbelief and wonder how a coin with a face value of just 25 cents could ever be worth more than a fleet of luxury cars or even some of the most prestigious mansions. But as we go deeper into the details and look at the combination of minting errors, mistakes, oddities, and mysteries that came together on this single coin, you will understand why this piece has become a legend in numismatic circles and why wealthy collectors were willing to pay astronomical sums just to own it. So stay tuned, because this story is one of rarity, imperfection, history, and the thrill of discovery. And it starts with the fact that the 1998p quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a period when billions of coins were being produced with advanced technology and rigorous quality control standards, which means that serious errors should have been almost impossible to escape. And that is what makes the existence of this particular coin so extraordinary, because it is not just a minor error, it is a once-in-a-lifetime accumulation of multiple minting mistakes that collided to create something so rare that experts say the odds of it ever happening again are close to zero. And the first thing that grabs attention when you look at this 1998 P quarter is the dramatic double die obverse, where the word liberty is clearly struck twice with thick overlapping impressions that make the letters look shadowed and almost three-dimensional. And the motto "I in God we trust" is even more striking because the doubling is so extreme that it almost appears as though there are three separate sets of letters stacked one upon another, a feature so bold that it can be seen with the naked eye and not just under magnification. And for coin collectors, double die errors are among the most exciting because they show exactly how the minting process slipped, with dies striking in misalignment and leaving a ghostly trail of letters and designs that should never exist. And when you flip the coin over to the reverse, you discover that the doubling continues with the words United States of America and $quarter stretched and distorted into thick doubled impressions that almost give the lettering a vibrating effect, making this coin an unmistakable example of a rare and dramatic error. But the surprises do not stop there, because metallurgical analysis has shown that this coin was not struck on the typical copper nickel-clad planchet that all 1998 quarters were supposed to use. Instead, it appears to have been struck on a foreign planchet of unusual composition, possibly a leftover from earlier test runs, or even a silver blank that somehow found its way into the presses. And wrong planchet errors are already extremely rare and valuable, but when you combine them with major doubled dies on both sides of the coin, you enter the realm of the impossible. And that is just the beginning, because this particular coin also shows evidence of an off-center strike where Washington's portrait is pushed toward one edge, leaving a blank crescent of unstruck metal on the other side, a mistake that collectors love because it shows the coin literally being misaligned during minting. And to make matters even more unique, the rim of the coin is warped by a broad strike error where the retaining collar failed to contain the metal, allowing it to spread out wider than normal and giving the quarter an unusual stretched appearance. And if you look closely, you will also see dramatic die cracks running across Washington's hair and forehead like veins of lightning, a sure sign that the die was damaged and breaking apart as the coin was struck. And since no two die cracks are ever identical, this creates a fingerprint of uniqueness that ensures this coin is literally one of a kind. And beyond that, collectors have noted subtle signs of a possible die clash on this coin, where parts of the reverse design appear faintly impressed on the obverse, suggesting that the dies struck each other without a planchet between them at some point, creating ghost-like images that add another layer of intrigue. And when you step back and add all of these errors together, double dies on both sides, wrong planchet, off-center strike, broad strike, die cracks, and possible die clash, you are looking at an extraordinary accumulation of mistakes that simply should not exist on a single coin. And experts have compared it to winning multiple lotteries at once, because each individual error would already make a coin collectible. But the convergence of all of them in one place makes this coin practically priceless. And that is exactly why, when it went to auction, wealthy collectors from around the globe fought in a frenzied bidding war that drove the price all the way up to $65 million, shocking even seasoned numismatists who had never seen anything like it before. And the story of this coin's discovery only adds to the mystique, because it was reportedly found not in a dealer's case or a collector's album, but in an ordinary coin jar where someone had unknowingly tossed it aside as just another quarter. And once it was examined by a sharp-eyed collector and authenticated by grading services, it became the sensation of the coin world. And that discovery story fuels the imagination of treasure hunters everywhere, who now search through their change more carefully in hopes of finding another hidden gem. And while the chances of finding another coin of this magnitude are slim to none, the fact that it happened once means that the possibility is always there. And that possibility is what keeps collectors engaged and inspired. Because the truth is that errors can happen in any year, and with billions of coins struck, even a tiny fraction of mistakes can create valuable treasures. And that is why people now examine not only 1998 P quarters but all modern coins, hoping to uncover doubled dies, planchet errors, off-center strikes, and other oddities that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions, and the 1998p quarter worth $65 million stands as the ultimate symbol of what can happen when imperfections meet rarity, because it shows us that sometimes flaws are not flaws at all but treasures, and it reminds us that value is not always in perfection but in the uniqueness of mistakes. And when wealthy collectors look at this coin, they do not see an error, they see a masterpiece, a one-of-a-kind artifact of history that tells the story of how even the most advanced minting technology can falter and produce something unforgettable. And when you compare it to fine art, you realize it makes sense, because just as a painting gains value for being unique and unrepeatable, so too does this coin. And in the hands of its owner, it is not just money, it is prestige, it is status, it is a trophy that says you possess something no one else on earth can ever own. And that sense of exclusivity is priceless, which is why the $65 million price tag, while shocking, is understandable in the context of ultra wealthy collectors competing for the ultimate rarity. And as we imagine the future of numismatics, we know that stories like this will continue to inspire, because somewhere out there in circulation, in collections, or even hidden away in forgotten jars may lie coins with extraordinary errors waiting to be discovered. And the 1998p quarter reminds us to keep our eyes open, because treasures are sometimes hiding in plain sight. And the excitement of the hunt is what makes coin collecting such a thrilling hobby, because you never know if the next coin you pick up might be the key to a fortune. And so the legend of the 1998p quarter will live on, not only as a coin worth $65 million, but as a symbol of hope and inspiration for collectors everywhere. A reminder that mistakes can become masterpieces, and that the tiniest details can hold the biggest rewards. And that is why this story will continue to be told for generations to come, fueling the passion of those who search, those who collect, and those who dream of turning ordinary change into extraordinary wealth.